The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday afternoon weekly webinar. Just as a reminder, I leave everyone muted while we do the first part of the call, but I am going to unmute everyone at some point. So please make sure that you have yourself muted on your end so we're not getting background noise. As always, if you have questions that you want to type in while we're talking, you can use the questions panel or just click the little hand raise button so we know that you have a question and want to talk. And with that, I will give it over to Tammy.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. So Jan is on vacation, and so you have me today. And I'm going to give you an update, another busy week in just the first few days. Today I had a call with Employment Securities Director Susie Levine to get an update on fraud and to kind of find out where our fund is at and what's happening. And so I thought I would just give you all kind of an overview on that. There's some things coming that you all need to be aware of. First of all, the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. It's obviously being drawn down. Last week, as of June 24th, total benefits paid were $6.5 billion. The week before that was $6 billion. So we have 500 million going out every week. And I just confirmed that because I wanted to be sure that was an accurate number. Based on current projections, we're going to continue to draw down that fund. Now, Susie today, Director Levine, indicated that she could see us needing a federal loan toward the end of the year. And she says this has nothing to do with the fraud and the theft of several $100,000 or $1 million. But I am not sure that they have a total handle on all of those fraudulent claims because we're just not getting straight answers on that. And so I have another call with her coming up in the next few weeks to get more answers on this whole fraud issue and where they're at. Today, she said that the experience rating wouldn't be impacted by fraudulent claims. And my comment to her was, I know of several of my members who have reported fraudulent reported claims, but they were concerned that they may not have caught all of them on their end. And so with that, she said, oh, well, then maybe we need to send something out to employers when we send them their experience rating, indicating which claims are going against their accounts. And I said, yeah, that'd be a good idea because I really don't think they have a full grasp of how much fraud is still being paid or what they are due. So anyway, more to come on that. I just wanted to give you a heads up. With that comes the solvency of the fund. And we've been given a heads up today that it does look like rates are going to go up. Very disappointed. And so our next meeting is really going to be digging into those rates and finding out what we need to do. The way it is right now, not only would we see our UI rates go up, but we could also lose part of our FUTA credit that we get on taxes, because if they do take a loan out from the feds, that will go down almost half. So it will go from 0.6% tax credit to 0.3%. And that will continue until that loan is paid in full. And they're saying it could be like a 3-year type loan. So there's some concerns with that. Fraud, again, they've received, let me see, I've got the number here, 376 million back, 376 million back. So there's more to come on that. We're still waiting to get final numbers and everything else on updates. But before I get into the next part, which is reporting, I'm going to open it up to questions. So I know, Rebecca, it takes a minute to unmute everyone. And please be sure you mute your phones while she unmutes you, so we can answer any questions or have a discussion on any of this.
Store manager from 26 and store manager from 7.
Okay, we have somebody unmuted.
Yeah, it's I'm going down the list, but every time I get to someone who is unmuted and they have background noise, I have to go back and remute them.
I know, sorry.
It takes me a minute, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I know this is kind of a challenge.
Now that we're interviewing everybody, that'd probably be pretty.
Okay.
Unmuted.
So Tammy, this is Black.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh,
Phil.
all right. Continue. Who was that had that
I
question?
thought it was Phil. But some people I'm having, because as soon as someone talks, we're getting feedback. So it's really important that you self-mute yourself, everyone, even if you think you're in a quiet room.
Eventually, we're going to get all this technology figured out.
Okay, everyone should be.
Okay.
This is Tom. Can I help you?
Okay.
Okay. Phil, did you have a question? Okay. Anyone else have a question for me?
Tammy, I guess this is Don Stoltz. I guess I have a question. Have we ever determined how much money has actually been lost? Have they ever come out with a statement? I mean, you said 300 and whatever million has been returned, which I don't even know if that has actually been returned or is being held up or something. But I'm curious whether or not we know how much is lost.
Yeah. So supposedly the number is around $600 million. They are saying that they recovered the 357 or whatever the number is exactly, through getting it back from the account that it was sitting in. So they were able to track it to a bank account, and that's how they were able to get most of it back. So the feds came in and they are helping them and working with them on this, and they're trying to get more of the money back now. But yeah, it was around 600 million.
So just to clarify, of the 600 million, we got 300 back, or we lost 600
Correct.
million in addition to the 300 million that we got back?
No, the 357 million was part of that 600 million.
So the actual loss at this point, they think, is something in that 300 million range.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. And they are saying that our reasoning behind needing an increase in rates and everything else has nothing to do with the fraud. The reason that she's been so defensive on that is because the business community sent a letter out, and I think some of you may have seen that, where we really held her accountable. This is a big issue, and ESD was just not stellar in handling claims or anything else. And they've kind of downplayed this whole issue of fraud and theft of all this money. and she downplays the fact that we're talking about $600 million here. And anyone else would not have a job if they lost $600 million. So, it's a little disheartening that we're not getting a little more responsibility on this from them.
A million here, a million there. Pretty soon you're talking real money.
Right?
Tammy, this is Kevin. So basically, they lost all this money, and in order to fix that, they're going to tax us rather than adjust their budget.
They're trying to say that this fraud has nothing to do with them having to increase rates, that they would have to anyway because of the number of claims that they're paying out each week. And like I said, they're paying about $500 million out a week. I'm just curious of that, how much fraud do we still have? And we still have, several thousand, like tens of thousands of people who haven't even received benefits yet.
Hey, Tammy, this is Jeff Phillips. I'm trying to figure out how the fraud really happened, because we sign off as business owners? Don't we sign off on the authorization for that unemployment?
Yeah. So part of the reason they were able to get so many claims paid out is because a lot of businesses were closed down, and a lot of workers truly were out of work. But what happened was these fraudsters used their name and their benefit and filed. So when the real person went to file, they were denied. Some of them protested it, some of them didn't. And that's the thing, people just not knowing the system didn't take action. And I'm amazed. And they won't even tell us really how all the fraud occurred. The excuse today was, well, we can't tell you what they did because we don't want more people to do it. And my thought was, if you figured out what was wrong, you should have fixed the system so it can't happen again. So I'm not clear why you can't tell us, what happened. It's really frustrating, I would express, to the lack of transparency that we're getting from their office on this. Are there any more questions? Okay. Well, I'm going to keep moving along. So more to come on the taxes. Like I said, we're going to have another meeting, and we're really going to dig into these numbers. We want them to be accountable, and we also want to make them fixed as much as they can. The last resort should be any tax increase on business right now. So we'll be fighting that. We'll be trying to work with them to come up with ways to either slowly build their fund back up or come up with some other ways, but they definitely cannot do a big tax increase on business in 2021. So we'll keep working on that. The next thing that I wanted to share with you, and Rebecca's going to bring this up. So I had addressed with ESD the fact that, as Washington started to open up, we had employers reaching out to their employees, their previous employees, to offer them their jobs back, and that these workers were refusing. Well, that needs to stop. Those workers are not eligible for benefits in most cases when they refuse their job. There are some obvious considerations for this, like if, their daycare hasn't opened or some other things. But ESD will be opening up this new website. It'll launch on the 1st. The 2nd. So on Thursday, this will be available. If you offer someone a job and they refuse, then this is your reporting tool. And this is on our website for you. This is a step-by-step instruction on how to do that. So we've worked with them. They will have this up and running. Please report those, because obviously the system is being really utilized, and we need to do everything we can to make sure the right people are getting the benefit. So refusing a job is not a good reason to have a benefit unless there's other circumstances around that. So any questions with that? Okay, and like
Tammy,
I say, that's on our website.
Tammy,
Yeah.
we do have a question in the question box that says, is the federal government helping out with costs of unemployment?
Oh, okay, that's a great question. So, and that's the one thing I didn't give you the stats on. So about a third of the benefits being paid right now are state benefits, and about 2/3 are federal. So of that total 6.5 billion that's been paid out, 2.2 billion is state UI trust money, and 4.3 billion is federal benefits. So to give you, a little perception on that, it is mostly federal benefits, and yes, they are helping with some of that, but we're still drawing down our fund, and we are expecting that we will have to request that loan. But more to come on that, because we really need to dig into these numbers. We're just taking her word for it, and like I say, I don't feel that there's been enough transparency in the calculation to be confident in telling you that that's reasonable.
And then another question is, what if they refuse because they can't wear a mask?
That's a good question.
I thought that we had.
I would report it, and I would just say that. Then it's ESD's responsibility to follow up. So it's not yours. But I would definitely report every single refusal, and it has a place for you to say why they refused.
I'm sorry, Tammy, this is Jeff Phillips. Is there a new form that I'm not aware of that we're tracking people who refuse to wear masks? Is that what I just heard?
No, we're talking about the ESD reporting of refusal to work. So if you call someone to come into work, no worries. So if you call someone and say, hey, your job is available again, can you come in? And they say, no, I don't want to. And if they say no because I can't wear a mask, well, then you just need to report that to ESD and just say, I offered them the job. They refused because they can't wear a mask.
Got it.
And then it's ESD's responsibility. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, but hasn't the governor said that there's exclusions to wearing a mask?
Sure,
so just because they're not going to wear a mask doesn't mean that, they're going to be denied employment.
Exactly. And that's why I say I would leave it to ESD at that point. Any other questions on that? Because this kind of leads into our next agenda topic, which is mandatory face coverings. So I want to thank everyone who responded back to me. I had a meeting with the governor's office yesterday and got an update. He asked how things were going. I did let them know that, in Yakima, we were having some challenges, and that I had reached out to Yakima County Emergency Management because they were given several 100,000 masks to distribute. I reached out to them and offered for, us to have some of those at our stores. So when people come in without one, they could be offered a free mask. Never heard back from them. So the governor's office is supposed to be working on that with emergency management to see if we can do something to get those there for you. I know you all have,
It's Chris Brown from Yakima. Those are all gone.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
100,000 masks are all gone already. There's none left.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
Okay, I'm not surprised. And so, Chris, how are things going there? Is it starting to get better, or still having a lot of challenges?
A couple a day. People that, most of them, I think, just one event. But they probably 99% of them put a mask on, and we've had a couple that have, been upset and left. But I don't know where they're going to go because we're all supporting it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you've all been pretty creative, and I've actually received positive feedback from the other counties that don't have such a restrictive on the employer, but where it's it's a statewide mandate. this has actually helped a lot of you, and more people are wearing masks. It's just where the whole compliance comes in. You know, Yakima is more restrictive and have to enforce in some sense, but some of you have come up with some really creative ways to not have your employees put in that position, and I think that's good. And we worked with L&I to make sure that you had, you know, that protection. As long as you're making an effort and you have your signs posted, that kind of helps you. And I don't know if anybody wants to share. There's been some pretty creative ways to say if you don't have a mask, we're going to assume that you have a medical condition. Does anybody want to share anything that they've done or that they've been doing to kind of prevent any challenges on that?
Hey, Tammy, I would just ask, is anybody actually refusing service to a customer or entry to a customer who refuses to wear a mask?
Yeah, that's a great question. Is anyone refusing? Yeah, see, I haven't heard of any either, Jeff. You know, because we were able to get that somewhat exemption. So I think most people are, you know, just trying to be as cautious as possible, urge people to wear them, but I haven't heard of anybody turning people away. I know we've had a few aggressive responses from customers, but yeah, I don't know. Anyone?
Yeah. This is Kevin. For my convenience store, we're refusing service.
Oh, okay.
We offer masks. And so we tell them that we won't provide service to anybody not wearing a mask. And I think we've had since Friday 6 people leave. Most times they'll put a mask on. We've had customers kind of challenge anti-maskers by saying, just put a mask on. It's not a big deal. It's the law. So it's actually gone shockingly well. But I'm in Bellingham, so, you know, it's a little more liberal. I know Matt at Yorkston's, I don't know if he's on the call, but he's had a few more challenges, but he's kind of spread out. And after the 6th in grocery stores, we're going to do the same thing. We've had very few people walk out. We probably, in 8 stores, we probably had 20 people. And my employees just feel better about it. And yeah. I'd rather have my employees feel safe and happy at work than bow down to, you know, a few dozen grumpy people. I've invited 4 people this week to no longer shop with us. People who are rude. Basically, we ask people, I have somebody at the door. I'm one of the only people doing it. If somebody comes up without a mask, we ask them if they'd like a mask. If they say no, we're letting them in this week. If they say, no, I have a medical condition, we say, thank you for telling us. We're thanking everybody that wears masks. And then people that are rude are invited to shop elsewhere. And we've only had to do that for 4 people. So it's gone pretty well. And I think within a week, we'll have it pretty well weeded down. But the impact on the business by losing customers who are refusing to wear masks isn't going to be that big. So gone pretty smooth. We've had a lot of customers thanking us for being at the door handing out masks.
Hi, this is Steve Brendamill, Broadway Truck Stops. I'd like to give the other side of that. While I understand what everyone's doing, we instruct our people not to tolerate customers who are heckling customers who don't wear a mask, for the very reason that quite often they do have a reason. And as someone who has a medical reason not to wear a mask, I've been heckled in supermarkets and I really don't appreciate it. So we make sure we do 6-foot distancing. We're proud of how sanitized we are. I've got people working the floor who don't have masks because they have doctor's notes, and I have not had one customer complaint, and my sales at the Spokane truck stop are up 14%. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was a good point that I was going to make too, is one of the things I've been recommending, for people with medical conditions, is just really urge that 6-foot distancing, and make sure that, that they're aware of that. Because then you've done your due diligence too. We can keep people safe even without the mask. So great point. Anyone else
guys.
on that?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is Elvira Winikovic from Town and Country Markets. To answer your first question, Costco actually doesn't let anybody in. They don't care if you have a medical condition or not. They do have a uniformed officer, at least at Shoreline Costco. They do have a uniformed officer next to the door person, and they offer the mask. And I guess if you don't comply, you can't come in. So that's one side of the story. As for us, Town and Country Markets, we decided the last week that we are going to put the signs up, and we have dedicated persons outside just for the masks. We offer everybody mask who doesn't have one. If they say they have a medical problem, we just let it go, and they can shop. They are at this point, we just tell them we do have also online shopping if you're interested, and we let it go at that point. So far, we hadn't had any situation where we have to, tell them anything more than that. So, and the compliance has been great. I think we are literally like 99% on our compliance on that.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, that's good feedback. Costco was used as an example for the governor's office. And the one thing I did say about that is it's a little different when you're a membership, company, because they can do that. It's like, okay, well, you joined and you paid, and we don't care, what you want to do. You can kind of control that a little more. So, they're a good example for face masks, but they can kind of dominate that a little bit more on what their customers do. Anyway, so with that, the governor's office has indicated that there may be more counties that will go into that higher restriction, which is Benton and Franklin. I've asked him to wait and just see how the whole mandatory mask issue, face covering, works before we do that. Because I explained that really the only difference is that you're asking our stores to be the enforcers, and that's not a fair position to put us in. And if you've got a mandatory mask requirement already, let's let people get used to that and see how it goes. And then if we continue to have problems in those other counties, then let's address that, but not to go there right now. So we'll see if that works. But hopefully we won't see any more of the employer enforcement side of this, because I just don't think that's a good position to have our employees be in. Any other questions or comments around that?
This is a comment in regards to masks. We do provide a card to a customer with a medical condition to carry while shopping our store. Employees then know that they can shop without a mask.
Oh, interesting. Are there any suppliers on the phone? Are we seeing any issues with supplies of masks again? Oregon just passed their law on required masks. They're actually, and I just got a notice, they're actually making all of the stores have someone at the front who is regulating whether people are coming in with a mask or not. So I'm concerned that we might start having supply issues again, and I don't know if there's anyone on the phone that could speak to that or not. Well, that could be good or bad. So I'll keep watching that and tracking that to make sure, because I do have a concern, with Oregon doing this as well. If we start seeing supply issues again, but we'll just keep plugging along. With that, those are the only updates I had for you today. I just wanted to check in and see if there's anything else you would like us to address or be looking at for you.
Tammy, this is Andra.
Yeah.
Down at A&J in Stevenson. Can you clarify for me the DOSH guidance on inspection for customer required face covering document that's on there?
Yeah, so we asked for some clarity and guidance on that. And really what we wanted was something in writing that said, as long as you're making some effort, and this really had to do with Yakima. So this has to do with counties that require the employer to be the enforcer. Those are the only counties. Those are the only counties where DOSH will come in and do an inspection, because there was an emergency rule done, I guess, about a month ago that allowed L&I to regulate whatever the Stay Safe proclamation was. And because Yakima County became part of that, we got this guidance to make sure that we were protected. So, you know, as long as we're making efforts, we're posting signs, we're doing what we can to, you know, monitor people coming in, then our stores will not be penalized. And that was the goal of this, was to protect you all.
So if we...
I'm sorry, Andra, go ahead with the follow-up.
So if we do become a county that has this requirement in place, like you were saying, Benton and Franklin may and Yakima currently does, then we would be required to police our customers?
To some extent, as long as you've posted signs and you have some procedure in place to make sure people are aware they're supposed to wear a mask, unless they have a medical condition. You know, like I say, people have been very creative in how they post it. And some have said, if, you know, you're not wearing a mask, we're going to assume you have a medical condition. You know, as long as you're doing some form of, you know, notifying people at the door, then you're protected. And the only place that L&I has enforcement of this that could issue a penalty is on those counties where the employers are the enforcers.
Okay.
Do we have anything else for the good of the order today? Well, I want to thank you all for your time, and please know that if you have any questions or anything that you need, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help you with it. So with that, I'm going to say have a great day and good week, and hopefully lots of sales for 4th of July.
Thanks so much. You too.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.